All right. Yes, it is still hot outside, but this heat wave will soon pass. We should be in the 70s fairly soon, like in a couple days. Memorial Day weekend will be in the 70s, so that is good. Anyway, how you all doing? I'm Anthony K. Thomas, but I'm sure you already know that because you're here. You know who I am. You're on my channel, my AKT Publishing channel. So I appreciate you for stopping by for another edition of Storytime with My Life in a Nutshell. So, the last time I did one of these, actually it was yesterday, and I was a little light. I did say in the beginning I was going to go a little. There's going to be some heavy ones, and there's going to be some light ones. So we started out light. We wanted to, you got to crawl before you walk kind of thing, you know? So we started off light. We all have a love story and waiting for her, telling my story within this. But like I said before, I ain't going to read anything from this. If I leave it to you. If you want to read this story, you can. No problem. Link is in my bio. Go ahead and click on that Linktree link. That'll take you to my Linktree page. And there you will see my life in a nutshell, as well as many other books and short stories I have available now to read. So, with that, we're going to get a little heavy. And I'm going to read, not read. I'm going to tell a little story from chapter 2 called The Feeling of Being a Black Sheep. So the feeling of being a black sheep really is, so the feeling of me being a black sheep comes from two sides of the family. I am biracial, and I'm going to bring this up a lot in these stories because I am, and I'm proud of who I am, but a lot of these stories some of these stories that get heavy have to do with race and the fact that I'm a black sheep. And the fact that I am biracial and how some people look at me. But it'll all make sense. Hopefully it does. So, like I said, I am biracial. My father was black. He passed away 7 years ago, cancer. And my mother is white. And before I was born, before my parents met, my father was in a relationship. Don't know exactly if he was married or not, but he had 3 kids with this woman. And never met the woman. Never met the woman. But I did meet his kids. And as a little kid, I was very excited when I found out that I had a half brother and 2 half sisters, but they didn't feel the same way, it turns out. And there were a lot of signs that I didn't notice as a kid, as a very young kid. There were a lot of signs that I didn't notice because I didn't know what they were. I didn't understand why someone would hate me based on the color of my skin. And my first reaction to that, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it another time, but just to throw it out there, my first reaction with racism was I was 2 years old, and I was walking with my mother. It was one of my first very early memories I have as a toddler. And I'm walking with my mother, and this random white dude on a street, on Madrone Street, which is where I lived, and I lived on Glen Ellen Manor. We're walking on Madrone Street. It's a street in Glen Ellen, California, which is where I grew up, as well as Sonoma, California, which are 2 very small towns, very close to each other. But as I'm walking down the street, he calls me, and I'm not going to say the full word out, but I'm just going to use the letter. He called me an N-word. And he called my mom an N-word lover. And that was my first reaction to it. I remember how scared my mother was being called that. And how scared she was for me when I was called that N-word. And instantly going back home, my mother telling my father about it, and the look of anger on his face, but not understanding it. And that's as far as I'll go with it. There'll be another story time where I'll really talk about what biracial was like for me and the talks I had with my father for another time. So sticking to the feeling of being a black sheep in the family. So my father's kids didn't care about me, didn't like me, and there were levels to why they didn't like me. They didn't like me because their father, our father, um, was with my mother, and not their mother. Understandable for kids how they feel about that. I get that. I understand it. And they didn't like that my mother was white and that I was white. Well, partly white. Half white. So they didn't like that I was mixed, biracial. That didn't sit well with them. So, but I didn't see that, and wasn't until I was much older when I started to realize the signs and how they really felt about me, and the reason why there were so much periods of time when I didn't talk to them, or just a period after 2014 where I just never heard from them again. And then on my mother's side, it was the same thing. Mostly my mother's sister, Esther, that was her name. There's a lot of names who I change and protect out of respect, but my mother wanted me to make sure that in this story about my life that I use her sister's name. So it's out there. Her name was Esther. And she not only didn't like my father, but she didn't like me. And she never really said the word, but you can see the look in her eyes, the way she would look at my father, or the way my mother would talk about my father, and how she hated him, and just hated being, and how uncomfortable she felt being around him. And then how she would talk about him when she thought I wasn't listening. There were times when my mother and I would go visit her sister because they were very close. And my grandmother, Baba, she lived in Rona Park, and my Aunt Esther also lived in Rona Park at that time. And this is like around the 80s. And so we go get my grandmother, and then we go to my sister's house. I would go upstairs to hang out with my cousins. And they were, when I was around them, they were nice. They were fairly nice to me, and they treated me like a brother, or so I thought as a kid, not really recognizing those signs. There was a particular day where I was up in one of my cousin's room, and I go downstairs to get some water because I was thirsty, and I hear my aunt, my grandmother, and my mother talking, and I hear my aunt talking very negatively about my father, saying asking my mother, "Why are you with him? He's just gonna drag you down. He's just gonna end up in jail, and leave you. And then your son's gonna grow up and be the same way." And I was hearing all of this stuff, and it scared me because I never heard my aunt talking the way that she was talking before, and that terrified me. But that was the first moment when I realized as a kid how my aunt really felt. But I buried it and I ignored it. And as I got older, the signs, it really dragged me down, and it really became this heavy thing that I carried and never talked about. And it just kept getting heavier and heavier. And the older I got, the more signs I started to see how one cousin really felt about me, and how he would begin to treat me, and how he would never show up for me when I needed him the most, how he would be disappointed in me if I made a mistake, how he would be negative towards me with anything, and how if I was ever in trouble and someone was doing something to me, then it was my fault that something happened to me. For example, it's June 2009. I'm in Hillsburg, California, and I'm just getting off work. I was working for a company who I won't name. And I was filling up gas. I was putting car in my gas. And as I was doing that, this Caucasian this Caucasian man pushes me, and then I fall down, and he starts kicking me, and then he tells me to get up, and he calls me an N-word, and he tells me to get up, and he points, and he has a gun pointed at me, and I can still feel it, you know, and inside is this Hispanic worker, and he turns his head and looks and sees the guy inside, and then he just takes off. The white guy takes off. My ribs are like badly hurt. I'm all types of messed up, you know. And I go inside and I ask the guy, "Did you see that?" And he doesn't say he doesn't want any trouble. And it's like and he's speaking. He doesn't really speak much English, and he doesn't want to get in trouble. You know, he said he just got here, and I'm just like, I get it. So you know, two people of color, you know, and one guy doesn't want to go back to where he comes from. You know, he's trying to start this new life. He has this job. So, and the camera's not working. I'm not gonna call the police, because calling the police would get him in trouble. So I go home. I get home. My mother and my father are like worried about me because I'm holding my ribs, and they're freaking out. And I tell them what happened, and I go to and they take me to the emergency room. And this is at a time when when Oxy was being handed out as painkillers. So I get to the hospital, and I plead with the nurse not to tell the police. I just want to get them X-ray, make sure they're not broken, and then let me go home. And she was cool enough, and she didn't let that happen. So I get to the nurse gives me a prescription for Oxy. I get it filled, but I don't take them because stories slowly start to come out about Oxy and about how addictive they are, and I don't want that to be me. So I don't take them. Instead, once I get them, because they just handed them out like candy, like it was free, and it was free, I destroy them. I get them destroyed. I got nothing to do with them. I just deal with the pain. I take a little Tylenol to numb it, to help me with the pain a little bit, and that's it. And then the place I worked at hears about it, and then once they hear about it, rumors get started that I was lying about it. I mean, clearly I'm not lying about it. I'm taped up. I have x-rays to prove it. I had a prescription for Oxy to prove it. But I'm the liar. The guy that you're looking, the biracial guy who got beat the crap out of because he looked black, because because in this white person's eyes he was black, and he knows what to do with black people. And I'm the liar. And my cousin believed everybody at work that I was lying over how I looked and what I was actually saying. And that was the first big moment I realized, oh, okay. I see where I'm like, I started to really open my eyes a lot more in that moment when I realized family could give a flying F about me. They don't care about what happens to me. For all they care, they want me to be dead. They wanted me to get killed. And that really hurt. That was heartbreaking. That was more heartbreaking than getting cheated on years ago by my ex-fiance. That kind of pain that you get from your own family, that really hurt. And you skip ahead a couple years later, and I'm barely talking about, I'm almost pretty much done talking to my cousin at this point, and anyone in the family on my mom's side. Because my dad's side, I only had met once in 1992 it was either 91 or 92 when his mother passed away, and I only saw them for a brief moment, and then that was it. Didn't see or hear from them ever again. But skip ahead a couple years later, it's 2014, and my aunt, her second husband, his name was Steve, and that's his real name. He's passed away since. That whole family is really gone. There's really no one left on that side of the family. His name was Steve. Anyway, he never liked me. He had a bit of racist. He was a bit of a racist because his bit of racism, I noticed, started when he would threaten me and, at the time, my girlfriend, who was Hispanic, for going a mile over the speed limit in a neighborhood. He would he would threaten me and said that if he catches me speeding down the neighborhood again, and the speed limit was 25 and I was going 26, but apparently 26 was too fast for him, that he was going to beat the shit out of me within an inch of my life. And I told my cousin about that when it happened, and he didn't care. He's like, Steve is just talking, he ain't gonna do nothing. And he didn't care. The fact that he was saying that to someone of color didn't bother him. So I'm like, okay. So then 2014, Steve is talking all this stuff about my father, who is very much alive, but talking about him like he's dead, and disrespecting my father, and then disrespecting me. And in that moment, I had two choices, right? I was at this barbecue thing. It was here in Santa Rosa at Howarth Park, which is a great park to take walks or have family get-togethers, barbecues. There's a great playground. There's a nice little train that goes around. And it's a good time for the family. And I'm there for my mom. I'm there for my mom to give it one more shot. And Steve just messed it all up. And my aunt doesn't say anything. My cousin doesn't say anything. And I get up and I have two choices. I can knock his ass out, and that would make me the lower person, or I can just walk away. And I chose to walk away. I walked away, fortunately, and at that time I was also smoking cigarettes. And I was smoking the American Spirits, the yellow pack. So I had the cigarettes with me because I just felt like I needed them just to help me cope through the day. And I walk away, I light a cigarette, and I'm walking home. I'm like, I just leave. My mom stays, and I tell my mom, she calls me when I get halfway down, and she's like, are you coming back? I'm like, no, I'm done. I can't be with them anymore. You stay. It's your family. Have a good time. I'm gone. And I walk all the way home. And by 2014, my parents had moved to Santa Rosa to be live in the condo with me, because my dad wasn't starting to feel good, was starting to get sick. And so it was just easier to have them here so I could help take care of them and be there for my dad a lot more. So I walk all the way home, and it's a Saturday, I believe. It's either no. It was a Labor Day. So it was Labor Day. So it's a Monday, and I go home and I just start laundry. I got some clothes that need to be cleaned, and I smoke the cigarette and all the way, and then I'm halfway home, and I'm done with the cigarette, and I get to the store that's right at the corner from where I live, buy a Gatorade, I walk the rest of the way home, and that's it. Start laundry, and then that's it. And I'm like, I'm done with this family. And that was the last time I really saw them. But the more the older I kept getting, as I got into my 30s and now in my 40s, I started to really see the full picture of how they really felt, how they really looked at me, and that was that, really. And I haven't talked to my cousin since. My aunt since then has passed away. She killed herself after her husband Steve passed away. But I hadn't seen my aunt since 2014. I hadn't seen her, talk to her since 2014. And as of now, I don't ever intend to speak to my cousin ever again. that's just, it's bad for me. It's bad for my health to be around him, knowing how he feels. And it's so convenient now that he has this family. You know, he has this wife, he has these two kids. And funny enough, I don't even approve of how he went by getting it, because he's still married to his first wife. His first wife has MS. She's in a home, a nursing center, as she's dying. And supposedly with her permission, he goes off, meets someone else, and falls in love with her. And he's not marrying her until after his first wife dies from MS. And he has a kid with this woman. He adopts her older son. So now he has these two kids. He has this woman that's eventually going to be his second wife. And he wants to be a family. You know, he wants to forget everything and be a family. And I'm like, F you. You know, you cannot be a family when it's convenient for you. You have to be a family on, not just on the good days, but on the hard days when your family needs you the most. And you pick and choose when it's convenient for you. So forget you. F you. That's where I'm at right now with it. And it might be harsh. I might be the bad guy in that, but that is how I feel in it. And I know there should be a point when I should forgive him for me, but I am not there yet. And I don't know if I will fully get there for a long time. But that's what it is with it. Anyway, that's just a little story from my life in a nutshell. If you'd like to check out the book for yourself, once again, go ahead and click on that Linktree link in my bio. It'll take you to my Linktree page, where you will see my life in a nutshell, as well as many other books and short stories I have available now. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all new episodes here on my AKT Publishing WordPress, on my AKT Publishing YouTube channel. Stuff like backseat reading, stuff like when I talk about Matthew, a Toy Story prequel, which is a story about Andy's father, Matthew, and a story about Woody, a story that takes place between 1957 and 1995. Videos like that. I do readings too. Social media book tour for all my books, especially this one, is on this channel. And when I drop story times like this. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and leave a comment on anything you'd like. Go ahead and hit the like button for anything you'd like as well. And I'm Anthony K. Thomas. I appreciate you for watching. And I will see you all on that next one. But until then, have a good one. Peace, y'all.